Hi everybody, how you doing? So, very interesting thing that I want to share with you is the human body, right? And I think I remember in Genesis, which I'll have to see if I can try to find it. I don't know if I have the. No, I do have the Bible with me, but I think it's going to take me a little while to look it up. I'll have to go online to see if I can get it. Punch in and see if I can find the verse faster. But I think it was Abraham. I think it was Aram. Aram. I think Aram was before Abraham, and I don't know if it was from Abraham or Aram, but the father had Esau and Jacob, the two sons. Now Esau, and it's Esau, which is quite interesting because Es represents Einstein and Au represents gold. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up because and Jacob was like our skin, right? Hairless, I should say. And Esau was totally hairy. Now, when we look at Sasquatch is a human like us, but he's covered with hair. Now, the human body was created out of this. And going back to where one of the fathers was going to pass down, pretty much pass down his throne to Esau. Well, the mother heard this and wanted Jacob to get it. So, in other words, he was whoever their father was. He was blind, right? So Esau come in, bowed down, and he wanted to give him a kiss, but after I think it's transferring energy from one person to another, or ownership one person to another. So anyway, he tells Esau to go out and capture something and bring it back and cook it for him, right, for his last dinner. Well, then their mother had heard this, and she went to Jacob and told him what her father's going to do is going to pass down the kingdom to Esau. Well, so Jacob went and they sacrificed one of their own livestock. So Jacob cooked him something and cooked him a meal, and he went and covered himself up with some type of animal skin, animal hair all over his face and to where when he went up to his father and his father reached up to touch him, he goes, "You feel like my son, but you don't sound like my son." He was saying that you sound like Jacob, you don't sound like Esau, right? And then the amount of time. So what had happened is that Jacob and his mother had tricked him into passing it down to Jacob, passing the kingdom, passing down his rights to Jacob. So they tricked Esau. So when Esau got home, back to the house, the deed has already been done. So everything got transferred to Jacob. So if you look at this world that we're in today, Jacob, the skin that we are in, the hairless skin, control the majority of the world. And then we have Esau, which would be like Sasquatch, the hairy human. Oh my God! Remember Harry and the Hendersons? So that goes back to there. So when we look at this world today and how Sasquatch hides themselves away from man, or how they get upset with man, right? So, and how intelligent they are and how they walk like man, but they're just covered in hair. Now, why am I pointing this out? Is because when we look at this reality, when we're born into this world, we're not like the rest of the animals. We're created from the animal kingdom of the world. So every animal and insect that's created on this world or born into this world um, automatically can start walking within a couple of months. They can think, they start fetching and foraging for their own food. They start eating like grass and stuff like that. Once they get winged from their mother, they're able to walk. They're able to, travel with their family. When you come to us, our human body, we are babies for at least 2 or 3 years. We're constantly being nurtured. We can't walk we usually don't walk until we're like, 2 or 3 years old, before we can have the ability of balance of walking. And we need clothing to survive. So what I'm saying is, a human baby of our skin cannot possibly be born and survive in this world naked with its natural clothing, compared to a dog being born in this world, compared to a lion, a chimpanzee, a giraffe, an elephant, um, insects, bees, bugs, that they're born into this world and they're ready to fly. Birds, right? They take the first step from the nest, they're already ready to go. As soon as they can get out to fly, they're already trying to forage for food. So I got to thinking about that, because I drew a circle and I put man in the middle. So if you put your arms straight out, straight out like this, I think I've showed this in a picture before, where, you go put your arms completely straight out, and then your legs, you spread your legs open, right? So it looks like a big X down through your body. And it's also the Solomon star, because if you go from your right arm to your left arm, so it's your right is fire, goes straight across here to your left arm, goes to air, and then air, the hand of air, sorry, I don't have my bigger screen here. So the arm is stretched out, and you take the tip of that hand and you go down to your right foot, your right toe. Then your right toe up to your head, which is your mind's eye. And then you take from your mind's eye down to your left foot, which is like, the left foot is the land. So you've just created this whole Solomon star, your Solomon, surrounded by this animal kingdom wheel. But that's where I got to thinking about where, because we're always, what about Sasquatch? Who are Sasquatch? They live on the land. And every time I think of that and see Sasquatch, and they have a lot of videos and stuff, and their tents, or the symbols that they leave out in the forest and stuff, are like, they take up sticks and they put them up like they're in a teepee, like a pyramid shape all around it as well. So I think, that's another thing that might be revealed at the end times too, because of, and the separation, and then, going back to Genesis, looking at when Jacob, known as the trickster anyway, he tricked his brother, he tricked his father, and then and when I started thinking about how we're born compared to every other living thing on this land, we are the only ones that are different. We are the only ones that are born into this, or like this, what I was saying, like the Goldilocks zone. We can't go up too high, or else we need a suit with oxygen. And then we end up losing body mass, or the ability to, because when we come back down, when astronauts come back down to the land, they're like they're flimsy. They have to build up their strength from the gravity. Or like going too far into the ocean, too far deep, you got to come up slowly, or else you spontaneously combust. I'm sure it's the same way coming from upper levels down. So it's this pressure. And that's where I got to think, I think I mentioned it before, how we are like in this Goldilocks zone. And then when I was thinking that in my mind, I was like, oh, the Goldilocks zone, right? Right in the middle of us. And then we got the red pillar on my right side and the blue pillar on the left side. The gold is like the yellow brick road kind of like thing. Very interesting stuff that's been, flowing through my mind. And as I'm reading this book, In a Pit with the Lions on a Snowy Day, I got to thinking about I Pet Goat 2, where the classroom scene where they show you the United States, and down below the United States on the wall right behind Bush is these snowflakes, which we can take that as in America, United States of America is a bunch of snowflakes, which we can see that already happening. And then on that cone that's on Bush's head too is representing the Daniel, because it's got the letter D on it. And then I showed you Daniel's tomb where it has that big cone on top of it as well. And then me reading this book. Oh, this is interesting. Check out the number right there. 222.44. But and then I was watching videos back in 2016 where Trump was at one of his depositions in court or whatever, and they're talking about, the lawyer was saying, telling him to turn to a certain page on this thing, and he goes, yeah. And she goes, you did read the contract, right? And he goes, no, I don't. I never read the contracts. Well, what? And she goes, and he goes, and she's saying that everything is on that. She goes, well, you really should read it. I'll give you some time to read it. And he looks at the page and he goes, oh, I don't have my glasses. I can't read things without my glasses. And she goes, do you want to just glance over it? Can you see anything of it? And then they skip over to another section. So this whole program thing was about how Trump can't read, and how Trump say he's always reading, certain books when they ask him about, what was the latest book you read, so he couldn't even name off names of books that he was reading. And and then I guess on Saturday Night Live, they had a skit. He was doing a skit on Saturday Night Live. Well, he couldn't read the teleprompter. He couldn't read the words on the teleprompter, so he kept saying, well, I'll put my own line in. Well, then there was a thing about him and teleprompters when he was giving his speeches, where he's like, we don't need, with the rest of those politicians, well, they need teleprompters to tell them what to say. He goes, I don't need those teleprompters. Well, come to find out, it was because he can't read. He can't follow and read the teleprompters. Now, why am I bringing this up? Because it's very important, because I started looking at a lot of, when they interviewed a lot of Trump people, how they can't read, how they can't write, or I don't know if they can write or not, but they don't even know anything about politics. They don't know how to run. They don't even know how the world works. They don't even know about climate change. They don't even want an education. I even know that through my whole extended family and everything, and growing up. Even through my own personal life, it's like, oh, I don't want an education. I don't want to go to school. I don't want to do this. And I would force myself all the time. I was just like, oh, break that habit. I like to learn. And the only way is to get in and do it. But the thing about it is I love to learn. I love to read and do all that stuff. The reason why I get distracted or don't want to kind of do it is because of embarrassment. I'm afraid of failing a class or something like that. But, I've worked through the courage. I worked through all that, and I'm glad I did, because now I'm kind of addicted to reading and writing and all that stuff. But when you get back to all these things that Trump, he can't read, and when he even signs his name is it looks like a bunch of scribbles. Now, I know that sounds kind of harsh, even for the his age and how they say he's successful, but even that, he's not even successful because they said he lost in 2 years $1.7 billion. He's had to give up over half of his properties and stuff like that. So I guess the only thing he's allowed to keep is Mar-a-Lago and his casinos in Las Vegas and some other place. But all of his other properties was taken to pay his debts because he has so many debts and he wasn't paying these bills. Just like these lawyers that are coming after him and stuff because he still hasn't paid for any of his lawyers. And then there's for his campaign in 2016, 2017, they named off 15 states that he's went to do his rallies, but he hasn't paid for the space that he was taking. And that was like years ago. And they're still asking for the money for this rental space. So that's what I'm trying to point out to people, because remember, the Biden is just a big crime family. I don't agree with that side either, and what they're doing. So again, this is why I think it's very important for us to find the yellow brick road within us and not to get to the two extremes. Too far right is an extreme, too far left are extremes. So they've got everybody split. Even today, I was just seeing the Republicans out saying the Democrats are trying to buy up all this land and they're taking away jobs and stuff. I'm just like, if we can just stop saying the Democrats are doing this or the Republicans doing this, why don't we just start saying we really need to bring the Democrats and the Republicans together to work on this deal and tell why for the people, not say, oh, the people are, acting like you're speaking for the people when you're not speaking for the people because you're not coming out and getting information from the people. We know that they're not coming out. These people that are making up this stuff, they're not out there they're always, when they go out in public, they're always telling people what they're going to do. They're not taking, what would you like for us to do? What would you like for us to do? It's always them telling us what we're going to be doing. And that's another thing we have to look at. But anyway, I just wanted to mention that because, there's something on my ear. Right there, like dried skin or something. Might be from the sun here. Moving into the next thing. That's another thing I want to talk about, is at least from my body experience. Every year, it's happened throughout pretty much my whole life. Every year coming into the spring, my allergies, act up towards, it sounds like I have a cold or something like that, but I don't. Well, going into autumn right now and fall, with the leaves and the dust and everything are falling again, so I always get the sniffles and sneezes. Well, if we follow what the World Health Organization is, they were calling out these events right before these seasons hit, these allergy seasons hit. And blaming it and then making, from my perspective, because I know a lot of people said they went in and even bought the test, where it's like saying, the tests are designed to tell you that you're positive. Just, I don't know. But I will never allow them to shove anything up my nose or in my body, because there's just too much freakiness stuff going on. A white butterfly just flew by. But anyway, I wanted to talk to you about, that thing about, animals and being born into this world and how we are part created from the animal kingdom, but we are the only species that cannot be born into this world and then within 2 or 3 months being able to walk on our own, eat normally, whatever that species would eat, and start getting into that mode like a tiger or something like that. A cat would be born, get milking, and then next thing you know, it's out and about, it's playing, it's walking, and then now it's attacking to survive for food, in forage on the land, or whatever you would say. Us, it takes years, and then you have to like teach them. You've got to teach the person, the human, how to speak, how to talk, how to read, how to write. But when you look at the animal kingdom, it's like they watch their parents, they watch and learn from that, or they learn from their own mistakes, right? And how most of them are critical thinkers. Like we're supposed to be critical thinkers, right? But when you look at a crow is critically thinking of how to get this, nut out of this, contraption. You got dogs, and cats. Dogs, they'll move chairs to get up on the counter. So, they're looking, they're thinking, and they're standing up and moving chairs, or they're walking on their back legs. Evolution, it's like somehow program-wise, by watching and repeating and, generation after generation, it's like these animals are building up their consciousness and kind of doing what we're doing. And then when I look at humanity today, I'm just like thinking, oh my goodness, they call the animal kingdom stupid, but the animal kingdoms were actually the smartest ones, more than they are smarter than humans, because humans need to be bag fed, literally bag fed for a long time. Bag fed being either from the womb being bag fed, or the nipple of the mother being bag fed. And then being bag fed to the bottle, to a bag, until they get to a certain age. So tell me what you think about that. Tell me if there's another animal or a creature, a species that's born on Earth that needs to have something created to cover itself up, right? Like us, we need clothes. The Adam and Eve story, right? Where Adam and Eve covered themselves up because they felt naked. Well, they didn't come in to this world with a coat. The only thing that they come in was skin. That's interesting, because the word skin, S means the sum of the equation, and kin, K-I-N, means like kinship. Interesting. Anyway, I'm down here at the park, and I'm going to do a little bit of reading on my book. Just whipping right through it. So, yeah, I encourage everybody, get to your local library to pick up some type of book that's going to be like educating and thriving, that makes your mind thrive, especially at this time in our history, or how the planet works, geography, or something to that kind of effect. Or political or law, but don't go to these law sites where, sovereign citizen kind of thing, because that'd just get you in trouble, because those were laws from way back in the day, that people are using to this day in this reality, this generation. It's like, they say, oh, you don't need a driver's license. I'm not a commercial vehicle. Well, we have current laws that remove all those laws. So, we just got to be smarter than the average bear, boo-boo, or yogi. Yogi and boo-boo.